Welcome, 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 welcome. We are here at KPFT 90.1 FM Houston covering the Beto O'Rourke debate. The Beto O'Rourke Abbott debate, folks. Please, we got a little short, or we're 3 minutes out, but we are on. Folks, this is your time to tell us what you want to hear during the debate. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Let's talk about what Texas needs. Let's talk about what we need to get things going in Texas. Who is better to represent us all? Gregory Abbott or Beto O'Rourke? What are your thoughts? I want to hear all your thoughts, whether you're a Beto supporter, whether you're an Abbott supporter. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about, should we have a change in age limits for getting an AR-15? Should we allow AR-15s in anybody's hands? What is Beto going to do? Is he going to get that limit change? Is it constitutional or not? Well, all of that, it's for you to decide, That's what we are going to decide in this debate. So, folks, 713-526-5738. Let's talk about what's going on in Texas. Let's talk about what's happened with the live audience. What happened with the live audience in Beto said that El Señor Abbott didn't want it. 713-526-5738. What are your thoughts, folks? I know you're out there. We want to talk to you. We want to talk to you about what's going on in Texas. We want to talk to you about why would you hold a debate on Friday night? Aren't most people watching football? Are most people doing other things? Whose idea was it? Was it Greg's or was it Beto? We don't know. The grid is in trouble. We got away this time around. We almost lost it several days this year, this summer. And what about this winter? Is it going to be a cold winter? Do we have the people in power that are able to make the appropriate choices, that are able to go beyond those who fund the energy companies? Do we have it? Availability of guns without licenses. Crime rate is high. Crime rate has gone up. It's not as high as it was in the 90s, early 2000s, but with more guns, doesn't that say that we may have more crimes? How will Greg Abbott answer that? How would O'Rourke talk about that? Will he press the issue? Abbott claims O'Rourke wants to defund the police, and he actually has video. Can you believe it? He has a video that seems to say that El Señor O'Rourke said, I want to defund the police. Unfortunately, when one goes ahead and looks at the tapes, that is exactly not what he said at all. 713-526-5738. Folks, we want to hear your thoughts on this debate that's about to happen at 7 o'clock. So we are here before 7 o'clock trying to get you involved, get the community involved. What are your thoughts? Who do you think should win? Who do you think is best for Texas? Sending the Texas National Guard to the border for something that the state is not responsible for? Remember, border control is supposed to be something done by whom? By the federal government. So therefore, a state government, state police has no rights to go ahead and go to the border and try to enforce border controls or anything like that. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Folks, this is your show. This is your program. Let us know what's best. Who's best for Texas right now? Greg Abbott or Beto O'Rourke? It is your call. 713-526-5738. Are you registered to vote? Are you going to be consequential in the voting? Have you made sure that you are on the rolls. Even if you've registered to vote, that's not enough. You have to go to Harris Votes to make sure that, in fact, you weren't thrown off the rolls. And now that I'm telling you or suggesting to you that you go check to make sure that you're still registered to vote, guess who's checking right now that I'm still registered to vote? There's a call coming in. Great to hear you guys. We're going to be answering your call momentarily. I am checking Harris Votes myself. Make sure that, in fact, I am registered to vote. Folks, we have to make sure. We have to make sure. So come on in, Suzanne Mulcahy. Love to hear your voice. Suzanne Mulcahy, let's hear your voice. Talk to me.
Hi there. Yes, this is Suzanne, and I appreciate that you guys are covering the debate. I am concerned because I keep hearing tendencies of liberal preference in what you are saying.
Yes.
And you obviously you are not an attorney because you're not familiar with how the state could send the National Guard and state police to try to help with the border.
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciate that you guys are carrying this debate, but you are very liberal, and you need to make that very clear. Instead of just stating an opinion,
Mm-hmm.
you need to let your listeners know. I used to anchor the news, and I know.
Suzanne,
Thank you
I am.
very much.
No, Suzanne, don't leave. Please don't leave. I'm just happy that you called in and presented your point of view. What would you like to hear?
You not being liberal. That's it.
Okay.
That is all I want. I just don't want you to be trying to persuade people because you are in a position
Mm-hmm.
that should be central. You
Right.
should be in a central position and just present, this is Greg Abbott, this is Beto O'Rourke. Maybe tell some things about each man's past history, their education, their stance on things, and not going into this clearly slanted liberal side.
Can I ask you a question?
You might be a liberal, and I might be an independent,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to go on a radio show or the television news and present things that way. When a debate is when people are supposed to be making their decision about a candidate,
Mhm.
and you are trying to persuade them
Okay.
to turn to the left.
First of all, I agree with you with regards to that. Personally, my personal preference is to be very progressive, and you're correct.
You can't deny that. I mean, you are straight off the bat. Nobody, you're not going to fool anybody.
I don't.
on
But
that.
the thing
You
about
are
it,
very-
Suzanne,
you are
here's the funny
very
thing.
liberal.
Suzanne, here's the funny thing about it. I don't think in what we're doing here or what I do, right? It's not about trying to make myself or the station or anything more than what it is or whatever. Over at this station, we have liberals, we have progressives, we have conservatives, and the like. And
Do you have a conservative or someone else who's also going to be hosting with you on this debate? This is the debate. So you need both sides instead of just a liberal voice there, a very leftist voice.
You know something?
You call yourself progressive, but you're not. You are very left.
Okay, isn't progressive left?
Well, left is pushing progressive even more.
Okay.
So to call yourself progressive is you're flattering yourself.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What are you, ma'am? What are you?
Excuse me?
Can I ask you what's your persuasion or your ideology?
Sure, I'm an independent.
Okay, great. Well, let me tell you, Suzanne, I hope you continue to listen to KPFT. I hope you continue to listen also to our shows here. And you see how you called in and said what you had to say? I love to hear that, first of all.
Exactly. Well,
Okay? I love to hear that. And so please keep doing that. Anyhow, Stephanie, come on in.
Hi. You mentioned about the Texas National Guard being on the border.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of things to say about that.
Yes.
First of all, border security is a federal responsibility,
Yes.
not a state. And the international border with Mexico is a peaceful border.
Mm-hmm.
It should not be fortified.
Right.
I served on the Iron Curtain when it was fortified. On the other side, there were watchtowers,
Right.
fences, minefields, mechanized units that went back and forth, mainly there to stop their own people from crossing over into West Germany, from
Right.
East Germany and Czechoslovakia. I don't want that on the Mexico, our peaceful border with Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
I served with Mexican nationals who were drafted into the U.S. Army.
Right.
They had the choice to go back to Mexico
Right.
or to stay and serve and get GI benefits, regardless of whether they wanted citizenship or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I proudly served with Mexican nationals,
Right.
as well as people from the Caribbean. About state duty,
Mm-hmm.
we hated it. We absolutely hated it. When you're on federal duty, whether
Mhm.
it's the federal pays for uniforms, equipment, weapons, ammunition, vehicles, fuel, parts. They pay for our pay. That's weekend drills, summertime, 2 weeks or whatever, and deployments, whether it's a stateside deployment or foreign deployment.
Right.
The only time the state paid for our pay was when we were called up for state duty,
Right.
and they were always late. They paid less money. They did not pay federal rates,
Right.
and it was always late. So for when people were mobilized for state emergencies, we never know how long it was going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't know what we were getting. And for people living paycheck to paycheck, which was your typical enlisted guards person from the small towns and the big cities and whatever, when the money was going to be weeks and weeks late,
Right.
they,
St-
rent was coming up, groceries,
Right.
car payments,
Stephanie.
things like that. It became a big deal. The troops that are deployed on the border have been committing suicide. That's made the news because these people are in extreme distress because of what their family is going through.
Great. Let me ask you to hold a second there, Stephanie. Thank you for those thoughts. And I want to, while I make an intro here, I want to ask you to tell me what you think about the debate that's going to be going on going forward. But anyhow, folks, please call 713-526-5738. I have the pleasure right now to introduce the one and only Akua right here at KPFT. Akua, how art thou doing today?
Greetings. And, this feels so strange to be
Back
personal.
live in the
I know.
studio.
Awesome. But thanks to all the volunteers and people who have saw this vision to have this facility open, we need it.
Well, let me ask you, have any questions for Stephanie? Stephanie, I wanted Stephanie to tell us a bit about the about the thoughts on the current debate.
Well, basically, some of the key issues that women are talking about, of course, is the recent overturn of Roe versus Wade. That is a hot button issue, and I've been listening to a lot of pundits talk, and most of the time, if it's a guy, they mostly focus on the border or immigration or the economy, but women of all backgrounds are pissed, really, about the state's leadership or lack thereof with regard to Roe versus Wade.
Yeah, well, Stephanie, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but a different perspective. Abortion doesn't affect me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a trans woman. I can't get pregnant.
Right.
On the other hand, I'm right in their gun sights. 10 years ago, they didn't particularly like us, but most of the Republicans, they hardly even knew about us. And now we're in the news all the time. Practically every time you turn on the news, they're trying to do some type of atrocity against us.
Right.
Whether it's keeping the kids from getting even counseling, let alone medical treatment for transition. Abbott has vetoed bills, anti-bullying bills. He thinks bullying is perfectly acceptable way to grow up in Texas schools. And, of course, bullying leads to suicide.
Absolutely. Let me block about 713-526-5738. Folks, we want to entertain a lively conversation before we get to the debate. So please give us a call at 713-526-5738. I'm here. This is Beto Willis sitting here with the one and only Akua.
Akua Holt here. Yes, thank you. One of the things that I want us to think about, the debate starts tonight at 7 p.m. at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley in Edinburgh, which I'm told is mostly a Hispanic
Yes.
environment or Latino
Latino.
environment. So that's really interesting. I think that Abbott would be interested in debating with that area, especially with his position on with regard to immigration.
Right. Though I find it sad that I find it sad that there will be no audience so that one can actually reflect on how what you're saying is actually going through.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
that's weird. Oh, okay. So, well, with less than 6 weeks to go before election date, Abbott reportedly holds a 5 to 7 point lead over O'Rourke in the latest poll. But early voting runs from October 24th to November the 4th, and election day is November 8th.
And folks, you can still go ahead and register to vote at Harris Votes, and don't forget that I think that ends at October 11th, the last day that you, or October 10th, the last day that you can register to vote, if I recall correctly. Just do it
Yes.
early and make sure to check Harris Votes early to make sure that you are in fact registered to vote. It is very, very important that you participate. Now, I'll be right with you in a minute, Stephanie, but there's one interest in October. It is Tuesday, October 11th. Thanks very much, Akua. I think something that is very important for us to acknowledge as well is that the polls these days don't mean much. If we take a look at what happened in Kansas, the pro-abortion side of the debate had a slight lead right up to election day, and on election day it actually lost by 20 points because the model that they had for the likely voter model did not reflect who was actually going to vote. Women are the key. Well, women have always been the key. I mean, we don't accept that. You can go from the Roosevelt days right up till now. Women have always been the ultimate and determinant factor in elections. And they can be the ultimate and determinant factor in this election as well. Don't you think, Stephanie?
Yes.
Okay. Stephanie says, yes.
Well, I had a little note on that about the vote for women, and I'm scrolling through, trying to get through my notes.
Well-
Okay, the Democratic Attorney General candidate Rochelle Garza noted in her statement that Texas restrictive trigger laws will disproportionately impact women of color, people living in poverty, and rural communities, and she's vowing to restore access to abortion if she's elected in Texas. So she understands the power of women's votes, so she's speaking directly to that constituency.
That is great. 713-526-5738. We have lines open. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. You know, of all the statewide candidates that we have, the ones that are going for the major positions, she's the one that is polling the closest to victory. Well, I say the closest to victory as far as a Democratic candidate in Texas after having complete Republican rule for so very long, which is an interesting. I always think of it as an interesting fact. Now, the one other item that I thought that is so important there, and actually I think they kind of fuse into one. We have the AR-15 debate whether we should really have 18-year-olds having the ability to purchase it, and then we have the new law that allow just about anybody to who doesn't have a record to just go get a gun. So now Texas is considered the wild, wild west. What I don't understand is how some candidates haven't really made that position that this delta increase in crime is a result of policy, and how they haven't equated that to really, as soon as somebody uses that attack against you, well, crime is increasing.
That's bad for business, though. They want the gun lobby people to support them, and all the people who, the various people who deal with weapons and guns. And, Texas is one of the leading states that's always been out front on the right to carry or the right to defend your homestead.
Right. 713-526-5738. Lines are wide open. 713-526-5738. Fear not, call. And whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, we had a caller earlier on that I think sort of misunderstood some of the things or where we're coming from. But again, we don't care whether you're progressive, conservative, in the middle. Please give us a call, 713-526-5738. We always wondered, Akua, why have a debate on Friday night when we know that
tell
it's
you.
a football day? And in fact, aren't you going to a football game after or something?
I'm thinking, wow, who did this? I thought maybe Pacifica had the power to say, hey, let's do a debate on Friday. But no, when I got a call about this, I'm like, who's debating on a Friday?
I know. Anyway, let's
Oh,
take
they
that.
don't want people to listen? Is that
No,
it?
no, we want people to listen.
No,
We're
I mean,
just back
not
at Akua.
Pacifica. I mean, the candidates.
Yeah,
who
we
agreed to this.
Yeah, but it was sort of concerning. Anyhow, let's take the other call, whomever the other call is, to get on air. And Stephanie, look, thank you so kindly.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay, good night.
You have
Good
a
night.
wonderful day now, okay?
Yeah.
But
Have you talked about the hot button issues for each candidate?
n-
'Cause
I'm-
they seem to be different.
well, I tell you what, let's take the other caller, and then please you tell me. Oops, we have an issue with the telephones a little bit, but it'll be cleared up in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I think when that happens, you may want to take the phone off the. There we go. You can take the phone feed off. Anyway, let's see. I think let's go with the hot button issues while she gets the
Yeah.
phone issue settled.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, pundits have said that if Abbott continues to run on the border issue, that he will continue a lead against Beto O'Rourke. However, O'Rourke has been heavily courting women with regard to the issue with abortion. And of course, Abbott has been talking about the economy. But I think also Abbott's inability to handle the COVID protocols, I think people have short memories about
Yeah.
how he handled that. And that topic is nowhere in the discussion
Right.
with regard to this election. I'm not sure why not.
I have no idea. Let's go to Lena, number 4, and see what Lena has to say. Lena, you are on, or you will be on shortly. Bear with us. Akua, this is our first week live after 2.5 years, so we still are working out some kinks in the system. Lena, you are live.
Hi, Alberto. How are you doing?
I am doing fine. Talk to me.
Yeah, so basically one thing I want to ask you, what happened to Democrats that you guys all going along with like silencing freedom of speech?
Mhm.
What happened to the First Amendment? Why don't you guys stand up for it?
I would hope that we're standing up for freedom of speech. Can you give me an example?
Example, well, the example when they were masking all of us and vaccinating all of us.
Uh-huh.
I know so many doctors were fired over the vaccine, not getting a vaccine. And you were all Democrats were going along. Yes, jail them, jail them. Like,
Uh-huh.
what happened to Democrats?
Okay, let me. I don't know if Akua wants to take this one first, or let me try it this way. I believe in freedom, like I hope you do, and I believe everybody should have the right to do certain things. But I mean, I also believe that since you are breathing the same air that I am breathing, I should have some sort of a right to say I don't want you blowing on me and infecting
you
me.
can say whatever you want to say, but don't censor me.
Oh no,
you
you're
can take a vaccine, but then
Lena,
let me do what I want to do.
my dear Lena.
My body, my choice. What
Lena,
happened to my
Lena,
body,
you're
my
right. Lena, could you give me a little chance to just say a little something here?
Yeah.
I believe in your body, your choice. I also
Okay.
believe in my body, my choice, right?
Yes.
And the thing about it is, I don't want, if let's say you are a person who doesn't want vaccines and you're a person who doesn't want to wear a mask. In my humble opinion, which I've stated several times, I think you have that right to do so. But please don't deny the right of folks who want to deny you service or deny you their presence because they don't want you to possibly infect them. Isn't that both our rights?
Well, I'm so sorry, but I'm not here. The hearing is so bad.
Oh.
But then the reality was, it was you guys. It was the Democrats
Okay.
denying me and people like me who did not believe in,
Lena,
not want to get vaccinated.
Lena, I tell you what,
You know, yeah.
I like to entertain these conversations, but because I'm with a partner here as well as we have some other calls, I want to ask you a favor.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a favor.
Stand up for the
Don't go
truth.
yet. Don't go. Don't
Stand
go.
up for the truth.
Wait,
You
wait,
don't wanna
wait.
get
No,
it.
no, no,
Okay,
no, no.
stand up for the
No.
truth.
Lena, I want you to stay. Wait a
You
minute.
just brushing me
No,
off.
I'm not,
What I'm saying
Lena.
is,
Lena.
what I'm saying is, let's stand
Lena.
up for the Constitution.
My dear,
for the
beautiful
freedom of
Lena,
speech.
could you please listen to me? Lena, please.
Freedom of speech.
Lena.
That's why I'm in America, by the way.
Lena.
I'm so overseas. I'm here for freedom of speech.
And I love
And
you for it.
guys
Lena.
going with big pharma, silencing the people like me.
Okay, Lena, I don't want to silence you. Can you, Lena?
Oh, thank you, Alberto.
Let me, but wait. I want to give you one other message, please. Are you here still?
My message is, please, I came to the United States for freedom of
Y yo soy
speech.
de Panamá. Yo soy panameño,
Let me
así que
say
me
what
gusta
I
la
was
libertad
saying.
también. Okay, so here's what I'm trying to say, Lena.
Thank you very much. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, let's go to
Thank
Greg.
you, Lena.
Thank you, Lena. Let's go to Greg. All right, we are going to get that fixed in a minute. But Lena, if you're still listening, I want you to call at noon, 713-526-5738, and speak to me on Politics Done Right. But Greg, you are on right now. Talk to me, Greg.
Okay, how we doing today?
Hi,
We are
Greg.
doing great, Greg.
Okay. I wanted to say that in 1823, Stephen Austin created the Texas Rangers. 10 men, and they were to supplement the Mexican government militia patrols. And there's a very good book written, there's been a couple of books, and you may be aware of him, Texas Ranger named Joaquin Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
He's very familiar with the famous singer Johnny Rodriguez,
Okay.
and he actually helped to reboot his career. And he was a ranger from he died in 2016.
Yeah.
But from 1966 to 1993,
Mm-hmm.
he was assigned to the Texas border.
Great. Let me ask you, my friend, to kind of. Oh, did we lose you? Uh-oh. I think we lost you. Okay, let's go to Colby. I am so sorry. Please call back. We're having a little bit of phone issues.
Little technical
A little
issues.
technical difficulty. So please, Greg, call us back. Colby, you're high right now. You're hot right now.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm high. Okay. Anyway.
No, I don't mean that. I meant hot, not high.
It is Friday, though.
Yeah. Yay.
Hey, Kobe.
I was actually calling to say how great it is to have you back in the studio. I love it.
Thank you.
And also, this is kind of regarding a couple things. One, a previous caller who said that you're a little too slanted to the left.
Uh-huh.
And I just kind of wanted to say that I feel like I've always considered myself an in-the-middle sort of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like extremism has gone, it's gone both ways. But I feel like at this point, like, center is, to call yourself center to appease both sides is to kind of stray away from reality.
Oh my God! Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate those sentiments, Colby. Isn't that right, Akua? That somehow that the center has moved so far to the right that so many things that weren't left are now left.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like for me, like I said, I always consider myself a middle guy. I voted third party in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
but now I feel like one of the extremes has become an existential threat.
Right.
And I've actually become very politically motivated to the point where I'm now actually working for Beto O'Rourke.
Oh wow!
Okay, that's excellent. On your
And
point,
so,
go ahead.
anyway, I just love what you're doing, and I think it's great. I'm looking forward to seeing how this debate goes tonight.
All right. Let me ask you a question. There's a lot of chatter out there because Beto has made headlines nationally because he has a knack really for grabbing national headlines. How do you think that's translated to voters locally, particularly in the state of Texas, where it really matters?
Well, on the liberal side of things, I've heard, lots of praise for him, and I have heard a few folks say that he should tone down the gun talk.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people are really hanging on to a soundbite that came out 4 years ago when he said, "Hell yes, we're coming for your gun."
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's kind of taken out of context, but it's not like he was saying we're going to go into your house and rip your gun out of your gun safe or whatever.
Right.
But he was basically saying, guns have been off limits for too long. Hell yes, it's about time we did something about it.
Mm. Well, he certainly had an impact on the 2018 election. I'm reading here where the close contest against O'Rourke and Cruz helped Democrats Lizzie Fletcher of Houston and Colin Allred of Dallas flip 2 congressional seats by each unseating a long-term Republican incumbent. Democrats had a net gain of 12 seats in the Texas House as well when he ran for that Senate seat. But I'm thinking here we are in 2022. Where is the momentum? Is it there? Or do you think the momentum will help propel him to a win?
I am seeing a canvassing campaign like I've never seen before, one that I'm a part of, and it's amazing. I'm hiring like a dozen people a day to go out and knock on doors.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like me personally, there's other people too hiring. So anyway, there's a lot of people on the ground doing things that, we're using technology to our advantage and trying to target Democratic voters and get them out and get them motivated and get them informed.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading this other piece also that talks about, and it depends on who writes these things. I'm just reading, reporting what I've researched here. In this piece, I'll tell you where it came from in a moment. It says that quote, Republicans overwhelmingly trust, polling suggests that voters still overwhelmingly trust Republicans over Democrats. Do you find that to be accurate? Because you're on the ground. You can tell us what you're hearing out there.
I mean, going around town and talking to people, we are trying to target Democrats, and so I don't really know of conservatives, although it does happen. So, most of what we get is, yes, we're voting, lots of good feedback. Occasionally I get the you're in the wrong neighborhood kind of person. But we're not trying to change people's minds. And it does, so we try not to engage too much with conservatives. But also, a lot of people I know, a lot of my friends and family still very much so plan on voting conservative this November.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find it interesting that this poll also says that Texans said the top issues facing the state were border security, immigration, political corruption,
Amazing.
Paxton, leadership and inflation, rising prices, abortion and gun control and gun violence were further down the list. So maybe that's why you don't hear the issue about gun violence and gun control, because it's now further down the list. I don't even hear the Republicans talk about crime as much.
It is interesting.
cycle.
I think right now, and I kind of hear it in what Colby is saying. Everybody is trying to go with their base and to see if they make it a base election, is to see how big, what part of your base they can get out. But look, Colby, it's been a pleasure for you calling us. Please keep us on your dial. Please remember that we have a whole lot of public relations shows now going, starting at 12 and starting in the mornings actually, and going through 12. I'd like to invite you to Politics Done Right at noon as well. And Akua, when is your show again?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so we'll talk about that later on. Anyhow, so please remember, keep us on the dial, 713-526-5738. Colby, you have a wonderful day, and let's go to Donald I wonder if that's.
And we're the ladies. We have one woman to call.
Yes.
If you're listening and you are a woman and you want to be heard, please call.
Thank
Roberto
you.
will be kind to you. I'm telling you. 713-526-5738. Hi, Donald.
Hey, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Not good. I mean, if I'm up and running, but I'm not real happy. If you get, let me. I really like the show. It's very important. It doesn't matter. It does matter a little bit. There should be very big neutrality as for the speaker who's answering the calls and having the discussion. I would hope he seems to be on that balancing act. There, he's on the fence. A little bit. Do I have a couple minutes to tell you who I am?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, boy, you asked for it. Okay, first of all, I'm the first baby boomer born in America on the East Coast on Veterans Day. So I do have some credibility as to what happened since November 11, 1946, why the Hiroshima bombs were still hot, and every day forward. I remember everything from my 5th birthday on. I don't remember 1, 2, 3, and 4. I guess you're not supposed to, but I do remember my 5th birthday because in America, my mother said, run out the door, run down the street, knock on all your friends' doors, and tell them birthday party's going to be here at lunchtime. Get that done and come on back. Okay, all right, this is what's no problem, no. I mean, that was real America, okay, the way it should be today. So we scoot ahead forward. Okay, now I'm in high school. 1965, I'm going to graduate. My brother is in the Army. You know where we're going with this, but it's very unique. Nobody had this happen that I know of. Older brother comes out of the Army and says, younger brother, you have to listen to me. I said, I always do. I mean, you're the big brother. So, and there was 5 of us, and all different sizes and all different ages, women, girls, and boys. So he says, here's what you do. You know that as soon as you step out of high school, because you already had to take the draft physical, you had to take it or they come get you, and there was no lottery. So here's what you do. You're in high school. There's 5 recruiters. You go to the 5 recruiters. There's a million, any kind of a job you want, anything is there. Pick a job that you think you like and you can do, and put your hand on the damn Bible, and put your other hand up in the air, and enlist and swear in for 4 years of active duty on the job that you're pretty sure you can do. But let's exclude being a rifleman in a ditch in Vietnam, if you don't mind, because I got real close, but I didn't get there, but I don't need you to go there. So that's what I did. And I'm not bragging, but I'm just telling you the story, and I got lots of pictures and lots of documentation to prove everything. So it turns out I got my pilot's license in the Navy when I was 20 years old, because I joined when I was 18. And the recruiters were kind enough to say, okay, that's what you're asking for, but you don't get it. I said, but I just asked, you signed up and you put that down on my sheet here. They call it dream sheet. They said, you don't get it. You just signed up for it. The hoops get smaller and smaller and smaller as you get closer and closer to that situation. And when you finally get to the point where you can jump through the last hoop, upside down, standing on your head, and squeeze through it real quick, and get out and still stand up straight and salute the flag, yeah, you might make it. All right, so I was lucky. I made it. I was very pleased at the job. I did deal with Russian spying ships off the East Coast, which is an issue I can talk about now that probably, of course, I only met a few people who knew about this mission. And Russian fishing trawlers, this isn't 1967, 68, 69, were spying. That Russian fishing trawlers are very good to hide a spy ship inside of, because they have all that running gear on the outside, with all the things sticking up there with antennas. You couldn't.
Hey, Donald, I'm loving the story. I'm loving the story.
I'll go forward quick.
Yes.
Ask me any question.
No. I'm telling you, I'm loving the story, and I kind of want to say where we're going.
Let's go to the Beto. I have notes. I'll skip ahead.
Yes.
I know I got your point here. For a man to change his name for political reasons should mean you're disqualified immediately. Mm-hmm. You can't change your name for that. That's not the way it works. It was on your birth certificate. That's the name you'll use. You could change it for other reasons, music and all that. However, my brother changed. I have a brother who's a famous musician and worked in Disney for 17 years, and he changed his name from James to Jimi, Jimi Hendrix. Not Hendrix, but Jimmy and our last name, and to be out of the respect for his music and the type of person he was and all that. Okay, well, so as far as the AR-15 things go, I recall way back in the day there was a waiting period. If you went to any place to buy a gun, they'd say, fine, okay, good, but there's a 3-day waiting period. Okay, so come back in 3 days if you still want the gun, and you have to go to your police chief of your town. The police chief of everybody's town got some kind of a police director.
Right.
You have to go to him with this paper and have a conversation with him. In other words, a little psychological talk with him. And if he signs this paper and you come back, you get the gun. If the chief doesn't sign the paper, you don't get the gun. Because you've lived in that town. That chief knows who you are. We don't know who you are, but he knows who you are. He knows where you live. He knows who your parents are. Very simple. A waiting period.
So bring it home for me. Bring it home for me, Donald. Bring it home for me. I mean, I love your story.
Okay, but I don't think Beto is anywhere near. If you look at his background, I mean, there was a house robbery for him. There was a hit and run for him that he did realize, I better stop because the police are going to chase me, and then I won't be able to get away from him. A few things that are really disqualifying, and his attitude is just impossible. Now,
can I ask you a question? Because I think you make. And by the way, you know, we all have the option to decide what we want to judge somebody on, right? So So you judge him on the name calling. I mean, on him changing his name. Okay, my name is Beto Willies to make life easy for folks. I've changed it before for other things. But let me ask you something a bit more profound. All right.
I meant change the name only for politics.
Oh no, I get you, brother. I really understood what you said. But let me ask you something, because this drives me hard. When did you want to say something? Okay. This drives me hard, my friend. In Texas, when the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act was offered, to Texans, all right? It was going to cost $0 for the first 3 years and 10% thereafter. Texas is the state that has the most uninsured people in this country. And we have a governor who said, because of ideological reasons, I will let 2,833 or some number thereof people in Texas who lack insurance die. That to me is material. That to me is moral. And when somebody tells me that they don't like a person because of a name change, I grant that to you, sir. But what I can't grant is not seeing the evil in someone, in somebody who will allow your fellow citizens to die because of ideological reasons. And I can
reason that offer for the offer for the 10% was, it should have been across the board. Anybody who wants to apply for it should get it.
I got to go to another call, my brother. But what I'm trying to say, sir, and you kind of. I am supposed to be a bit less partial, but this one hits a nerve, having a daughter that's had 2 strokes, having a wife with lupus, and knowing and understanding what healthcare is all about when you don't work for a corporation, etc. I cannot see anybody not seeing an evil within having access for your entire population, the potential for access. And saying no. Thank you, Donald. I want you to keep calling our station. I want you to stay engaged. 713-526-5738. Please stay engaged with us, because I need to hear from folks like you. You're a good man altogether. I need to hear from folks like you to get the right context. Nita, come on in.
And I want to let people know you're listening to KPFT Houston, 90.1 FM Houston. I'm Akua Holt.
I'm Egberto Willies.
And what are we doing here on a Friday?
Well, Akua, why did you pull me in here, Akua?
I know. We're going to, Well, it's important because we have callers who haven't listened to us do live programming in a long time, and this is a hot button issue, the state election.
Is. But, Anita is on the air now. Anita wants to say something.
Hello, hello. How are y'all? And welcome back.
Great.
Thank you, Nita.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I have been a fan of KPFT since the office was down on Prairie.
Wow.
So before Lovett Boulevard.
Wow.
That's a long time.
It is. I just wanted to make a comment regarding Lena's phone call. I would like for somebody to call in and explain to me that regarding vaccines and masks, why is it my body, my choice? But when it's regarding abortion, why is it my body, your choice? You can't have it both ways. So, I don't understand how anybody can think that that's okay.
I
Yes,
think
I
Mademoiselle
agree.
Akua is much more qualified to
No,
answer
no,
that
Nita,
than I am.
so glad you called to point that out. I've been asking where are the women out there to call and talk about this
I heard
issue.
you ask. That's what
Thank
made
you.
me call in.
Thank you. I mean, it's incredible to me in 2022 when it comes to this hot button issue of the governor election. We're the women. Why aren't we speaking out? Why aren't we holding our election officials responsible, particularly these men who think that they can speak for our wombs?
Exactly, because that's also another thing that just gets my goat. 95% of the people that want to be in control of abortion will never, ever, ever have to worry about getting pregnant from being raped.
Right. And many of them, well, none of them exist. They had to pass through a woman. So if you're going to speak for us, at least ask us what we think about our wombs and how we want to be treated as human beings, whether we are for abortion or not. Because we know that there are extenuating circumstances where women may have tubal pregnancies that they are saying no to. You can't get an abortion. Women have been victims of incest and rape, and then some women have been victims of domestic violence, even in marriage or a relationship, and they just don't want to go through with the pregnancy. So why allow the woman to experience trauma and then perhaps the child to continue that trauma?
Yes, it's flabbergasting. And then along with that, I don't see very many of people that are pro-life raising their hand to take in any of these children that are then abused because they weren't wanted.
Yeah, I think that's the other critical issue because Texas has such a high population of children waiting for adoption. I don't hear any of the pro-lifers talking about how are we going to remedy that situation. It came to a point where a lot of these children were staying in hotels because they couldn't find places and homes for them to be temporarily.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I don't understand it at all. I was watching I live in a little bitty town, 160 miles northeast of Houston, which is what I'm driving to. We were born and raised in Houston, been KPFT members for a long time, but my husband and I got away. Well, then our 38-year-old daughter decided after 10 years she was going to have her first baby. So now I come in and I watch him during the week because she teaches at a private school for kids on the spectrum. But now I get to see the big city Houston news. And I was watching some program, and they were talking about things that had happened to women just because of these new laws. And one woman had been shot by a woman that had wielding a gun in a parking lot, and they put the woman who got shot in jail for endangering her unborn baby.
Yeah, I think I read that. Yeah.
It's mind blowing. It's like, where do we live now? What has happened?
Exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way. Exactly. Yeah. Well, we're going to have to continue to pay attention to that issue, and I think women are going to have to perhaps create coalitions across, racial lines, economic lines, and make our voices be heard. I think they're able to capitalize on our lack of unity and our lack of organization to say that they speak for us, and we need to take our power back and vote as a collective.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that. I love that. Vote
Yeah.
as a collective.
Yes,
I mean,
for
we
sure.
have to get together and really do the right thing. I think, look, Nita, thank you so kindly for calling in, and please remember to keep us on your dial. I know you're a long-time listener, so I'm probably talking to the choir, but please tell everybody about us. I appreciate you, okay?
Thank
You
you,
bet.
Nita.
You bet. Y'all have a great weekend and a good evening.
You too
Okay, you
now.
too. I want to
All
remind
right.
everyone that early voting runs from October 24th to November 4th. Voters can cast ballots at any polling location in the county where they are registered to vote. During early voting, election day is November 8th, and you may want to check to make sure that your name is still on the voting rolls.
Thank you so kindly, Akua. James, you are hot.
Well, thank you.
I meant that you're online. Okay, go ahead, James. Oops. What
Okay.
happened there?
Well, while we're waiting for James, I want to remind our audience you'll need one of 7 types of valid photo IDs to vote in Texas: a state driver's license, a Texas election identification certificate.
Yeah.
Is that something new?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they've always, you can either have a
Oh,
license or
wait,
an
yeah,
ID.
the ID card, a Texas personal identification card, a Texas license to carry a handgun, a U.S. military ID card with a personal photo, a U.S. citizenship certificate with a personal photo, or a U.S. passport. Voters can still cast votes without those IDs if they sign a form swearing that they have a reasonable impediment from obtaining a proper photo ID or use a provisional ballot. Now, the provisional ballots, I don't think they
No,
count.
they don't count.
That's just,
I mean, and you know what's so funny? You have all those IDs, and notice I don't think I saw a student ID.
no.
Oh wow!
You notice?
Look, we got
Yeah.
a lot of calls, and we have a little bit of time left. So let's
Okay,
go
well,
through.
then
Let's
2 minutes.
cycle
Let's do
this
it.
through 3.
You want to do a 2-minute?
Yeah, let's do it like a 30-second for somebody to make a statement. Go ahead and lay the first one on. Oops, we're losing it, I think. Faravid, put somebody on air and we'll be ready to go. Folks, thank you so kindly. Folks, as Akua just mentioned, that's very important. Please go ahead and register to vote at Harris Votes. Okay, we are ready to take that other call. I think it's about to come, but they may be having some technical issues with
And
the
have we told
telephone.
them they can listen to the debate after?
Oh,
we're
no,
okay?
actually, please tell them,
Yeah.
Akua.
Well, when we're done at 7:00 p.m., KPFT will be carrying the debate live.
Please
here.
go ahead and listen to KPFT for the debate.
Yeah.
We'll be carrying that debate live. Let's see if we can get another person. Come on in, James. Sorry that I missed you. Come on in, James.
James, are you with us?
Yeah, it's going to turn red for James right now. Okay, come on in, James.
Hey, how's it going?
Great, talk to me.
Yeah, I had a couple points I want to try to touch on real quick. I think your first female caller, she was making a pretty fair point about Democrats kind of, in my opinion, making a move to the right and being pro-censorship, not very pro-war military-industrial complex.
Mm-hmm.
But like I believe she was talking about like deplatforming.
Right,
Joe Rogan would be a good example.
right.
You know? You disagree with what someone says, wipe them off the internet. And that has been very much supported
James,
by
James, I hear you. Could you make the point real quick, because I have to jump to one other caller before we get off to go to the live debate.
I think for Texans, Beto's stance on guns would
Okay,
be an absolute no-go.
okay.
Even if you're against them, historically speaking, taking people's guns is what starts Civil War revolution. You know?
I do appreciate your thought, my friend, and we have to go to the last caller, but thank you so kindly. Keep calling us and keep staying with us. You'll get more airtime. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you,
Justin,
James.
come on in. Justin, come on in. Okay, we'll get that. Justin, you're hot.
Yes.
Oh, what happened?
Okay, well, hopefully
Okay.
Justin can call right
Yeah.
back and we'll put him on.
Okay, if Justin calls back, we'll put him on if he calls back within 30 seconds. So Justin, if you call within 30 seconds, we'll just drop you right in to get started. It's not going to happen. Oh, we're going to try. All right. But anyhow, Akua, what do you expect out of this debate today?
I think you should talk about that.
Huh?
Well, again, as a woman voter,
Right.
there's specific issues that I want to hear about: education, health care, and of course the abortion rights. So when you look at how the media is framing this debate, it's basically around issues that we hear on a national level: the economy, the border, fuel, high gas prices, low gas prices.
Right.
But there are some other issues, hot button issues that women are
Let's
interested
give
in.
Justin that 30 seconds. Justin, 30 seconds before we have to cut off. So go ahead. Go ahead, Justin. 30 seconds.
Yes, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to make a comment. So yesterday, I'm traveling back from an international trip for business, and I'm sitting here waiting in the line at customs, and it is a rather long line. Even for U.S. citizens, it was about an hour and a half to get through customs. I guess a lot of traveling, and it just made me think about this whole border situation. And
give me a 10-second closer, Justin. We have to go to the debate.
Just the fact that there's a process in place. If you don't prove your citizenship, if you don't have a good reason to be in the country, you're going to be denied access. You will not leave that airport.
Thank you very much, Justin. Let's go to Alistair real quick. Alistair, you're on.
So even though that's not one of the issues that was brought up,
Is the debate started? Okay, folks, I'm sorry that we went over. Alistair, we'll catch you after the debate.
It's all good. No problem.
Thank you for calling, Alistair.
Thank you so kindly.
Thank you, Roberto.
Thank
This is
you.
great. This has been great. Thanks to the listeners as well.
Thank you very
This
much.
is KPFT Houston 90.1 FM.
Austin, Associate.
To face, challenging each other with opposing views on their vision for the future of the Lone Star State. Incumbent Greg Abbott.
He wants to go, take your guns and deny you your Second Amendment rights. We will not let that happen.
Challenger Beto O'Rourke.
An abortion ban with no exception for rape or incest, that is not us. That may be Greg Abbott.
Now, in their only debate before Election Day, we go after answers on the issues you care about most. Immigration, abortion rights, gun violence, and how far we'll go to protect our children at school. Tonight, the heat is on in South Texas, live from the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. The Texas Governor's Debate starts right now.
We are coming to you live from the Performing Arts Center at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley in Edinburgh for the Texas Governor's Debate. And we are so happy that you're joining us tonight. I am your host, Britt Moreno, anchor at KXAN in Austin. This debate is airing live from El Paso to Tyler and from Amarillo to Brownsville, carried by 14 Nexstar Media Group stations in Texas, as well as 5 partner TV stations. And we want y'all to join in the conversation on social media. Use the hashtag TXGovDebate. You'll see it there at the bottom of your screen. You're all here to watch these two men share their vision for the state of Texas. Asking the questions tonight are panelists. From KSAT in San Antonio, anchor Steve Spriester. My colleague at KXAN, anchor Sally Hernandez. And from the Dallas Morning News, political writer Gromer Jeffers. Candidates, let's briefly go over the rules for tonight. Each candidate will have 60 seconds for each question. If there are follow-ups, candidates will then have 30 seconds, and there will be up to 30 seconds allowed. At the end of the debate, each candidate will have 30 seconds for closing statements, and when your time is up, you're going to hear this bell. And with that, let's get started. I'm going to send it over to my colleague Sally with the first question.
Britt, thank you. And again, thank you both for being here tonight. I can tell it's going to be an exciting night. Got a lot of questions to ask you both, but I just want to remind you, please pay attention to the time cues. This way, you're not talking over each other, and I don't have to interrupt you, and our viewers at home can hear your answers tonight. Let's get to it. Immigration. Immigration issues are especially relevant here in the Rio Grande Valley. For years, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has ranked it as the #1 area for migrants crossing illegally along the entire southwestern border. Many communities here have suffered enormous monetary costs. Governor Abbott, let's start with you, and you have 60 seconds with this question. What would you do to alleviate the financial burden placed on these communities?
We've been working to respond to the disaster caused by the Biden administration that has caused such an economic burden on these communities. Farms and ranches are run over, communities are disrupted, homes that are invaded. Remember this, just 2 years ago, we had one of the safest borders in decades, but under the Biden administration, we have more people coming across the border than ever in the history of our country. Texas has responded by making sure that we have the National Guard and DPS deployed where they're making arrests and turning back illegal immigrants, as well as what we're doing to help local communities by busing them from the area where Border Patrol is dropping them off to sanctuary cities in northeastern parts of the country. But what we're doing is making sure that we are keeping our community safe, and this is completely different than the way things would be under Beto, because he said months ago, there is no problem on the border. He said that he would reduce immigration enforcement. He even said that 95% of people come across the border illegally, he would allow to stay.
Okay, Mr. O'Rourke, I want to give you a chance to respond. And let me just repeat the question first for our viewers and for you. What would you do to alleviate the financial burden placed on border communities related to migrants crossing over? 60 seconds, please.
What we just heard from the governor is what we are likely to hear over the course of this debate. He's going to blame people like President Biden. He's going to try to lie about my record, and he's going to distract from his failures, whether it's his failure to keep the lights on in the grid, his failure to address school shootings, or his failure in immigration. We are 8 years into his time as governor, and this is what we have on our border. In fact, $4 billion into Operation Lone Star. We're seeing not fewer, but more encounters at our border right now. What we need is a safe, legal, orderly path for anyone who wants to come here to work, to join family, or to seek asylum. If you come to this country, we expect you to follow the law. But on our side, we're going to make sure that our laws reflect our values and our interests. And I'm going to work with local leaders, Republicans and Democrats alike, to make sure that we have a Texas-based guest worker program to alleviate shortages that we have in our state for labor demands and reduce inflation and address supply chain issues as well.
Thank you. Governor Abbott, you just heard your opponent talk about Operation Lone Star, and I have a follow-up question about that. About $4 billion in state funds has been directed to the Operation Lone Star Border Security Initiative. The program has seen its funding increase as recently as this past July. So the question, Governor, in 30 seconds if you can to answer this, should more money be allocated towards Operation Lone Star? And if so, Governor, how much?
Well, candidly, we shouldn't have to allocate any money for it, because this is all because of Joe Biden's failure to do the president's job to secure the border. We're only having to do that because of Joe Biden's failure and because it would be the same pathway that Beto would take us down. Speaking of which, he talked about this guest worker program. He could have done that had he won the race for the Senate or won the race for president. That's not a job for governor. The job of governor is have to deal with the chaos caused by the Biden administration and its open border policies that Beto would replicate.
What we have is chaos thanks to Governor Abbott right now.
Okay, let me give you 15 seconds to answer the question for me. How much money should be going toward Operation Lone Star?
And I'm telling you, $0 Star, and that's what it would be if we had a president who was enforcing the immigration laws of the United States of America.
Mr. O'Rourke, I want to go over to you. 30 seconds for this question. It's the same one. Should more money be allocated towards Operation Lone Star?
No, it's clearly failed. The numbers are in. We're seeing not fewer but more engagements at our border. When the governor spent $4 billion of our tax dollars on what has turned out to be political theater for his political career. He promised us that it would deter people from coming to this country. We've only seen more people come. Now they get a bus ride to Chicago or Washington, D.C. or New York. We don't need any more stunts. We need solutions. We need those coming here to follow our laws. We need to make sure our laws follow our values.
Shelley, can I respond to that, please?
I'll give you 15 seconds, Governor.
Sure. So these are efforts to protect our state. There is a record amount of fentanyl coming across the border. This deadly, Texas law enforcement has seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the entire country. And this is because of Joe Biden's policies.
Thank you, Governor Abbott. I assure you we have a lot of questions, a lot of topics to get to, and Steve has the next one.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you, gentlemen, for both being here tonight. Mr. O'Rourke, I want to continue with the immigration topic now. You've criticized the deployment of National Guard troops to the border. Here's a clip of you speaking at a March rally in College Station.
There are Guard members from Texas A&M who are on the border right now in Zapata and Webb and Hidalgo counties to go be part of a solution in search of a problem.
A solution in search of a problem. More recently, you told the Houston Chronicle that you will put some troops on the border as governor. In 60 seconds, can you explain why your view on deploying troops has seemingly changed when it comes to the border?
It hasn't. I've actually been to Zapata and Webb and to Maverick counties and listened to these members of the Guard who had less than a week to say goodbye to their families and to their careers and into their communities to be part of the governor's political theater. Those aren't my words, those are their words. So far, we've lost the lives of 8 Guard members. 4 of them have taken their lives, and 4 of them have died in questionable circumstances, none of whom, by the way, was killed by anybody coming in to this country. These Guard members say they have no powers to arrest or detain anybody. 10,000 Guard members, $4 billion, and it's been a complete failure, much as everything that the governor has done has been a failure for this state. What we need are solutions, not more stunts. Where we can have a strategic deployment on a voluntary basis for Guard members, let's do that. I've been consistent on that. Where we can partner with local sheriffs, with DPS troopers, let's do that. But we need to work on things like a Texas-based guest worker program to meet labor needs in our communities and ensure that our laws match our values.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. Governor, I want to talk to you. You talked about migrants and the busing of migrants. Many migrant advocates and Democratic elected officials have expressed concerns about the treatment of migrants being bused from Texas to other states and cities. Here's New York Mayor Eric Adams talking about that just last week.
And when we reached out to Governor Abbott and stated, can we coordinate? Can we identify, who's traveling here, that we don't have to guess this? They refuse to do so.
The White House has called this a political stunt. Governor Abbott, is this a political stunt? And has there been coordination with the states and cities these migrants are being taken to? And if not, why not? You have 60 seconds, sir.
So this operation began after meeting with local officials, sheriffs, mayors, police chiefs, and county judges, where they were overrun with the number of migrants that Border Patrol had dumped into their tiny little communities. They needed relief, and busing was one of the ways of providing them relief, and thus began the process of busing the migrants to cities that self-identified as sanctuary cities. Mayor Adams has